So I want to transition to talking about definitions and models of sustainability. I'm going to show you 2 or 3 models of sustainability that are appropriate for grades K-12, and then a couple of others that are much more technical. So as we're thinking about and discussing sustainability and talking about each model, think about these 3 questions. How does each model or each definition of sustainability prioritize human needs? Also, how does it view the relationships between people and the environment? And then finally, how does the definition or model articulate the impacts of human activities on the environment? So let's start with the definition. This is a technical definition that is used widely among sustainability scientists. It comes from the World Commission on Environment and Development from 1987. This is a program by the UN. And basically what it says is sustainability or sustainable development means meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability to meet future needs. This is the first model of sustainability that we like to introduce. It's called the 3 pillars model. And if we take all of human needs and organize them, what we find is that human needs fall into 3 basic categories. And those categories are the environment, society, and the economy. And so the environment is things like clean air, clean water, healthy soil, nutritious food. Society is safety, health, education, and community. And you could think of a whole bunch of other societal needs that I haven't even addressed here. Justice would be one of them. Economy would be things like good jobs, fair prices, fair wages, opportunities to work, opportunities to participate in the economy. Those are basic needs that are undeniable. And you can find a whole bunch of others that maybe don't fit nicely, neatly into these categories, but for the most part, you could probably squeeze them in somewhere here. Now, sustainability rests on those 3 pillars. And what that means is that if you were to knock out any one of these pillars, the whole system collapses. So if you prioritize the environment, but you sacrifice our social and economic systems, the whole thing collapses. If you are prioritizing the economy, then and not society and the environment, then you have problems as well. So this is sort of this balanced approach of thinking about sustainability as the strength of a sustainable system is directly related to the strength of the environmental, social, and economic systems that support it. The next model is just the Venn diagram model. It's a way of conceptualizing whether or not something is part of a sustainable system. And again, like the 3 pillars model, it's going to take a balance between environment, society, and economy. You can have things that are good for the environment that are probably not great for the economy or for society. You could have things that are great for the economy that sacrifice the environment, that sacrifice the social systems. And you could have all kinds of blendings of things. And one of the things that we do when we're teaching this class in person is give examples of environmental movements or social movements or economic movements of different kinds and see where you can place them on this kind of diagram. And so you really start to see that some of the important movements in our society are actually missing key components that would make them more sustainable. Here's another example, similar to the Venn diagram model, but with one crucial difference. This is called the nested hierarchies model. And what this shows us is how much we are dependent on our environmental systems. So the reason that the environment is the biggest circle outside of these other circles is because the environment is what provides us with the resources that our social and economic systems need. If we exploit the environment to the point where it can't support those social and economic systems, then the whole thing collapses. So we have to view, rather than thinking about just getting a good job and making money or protecting our social institutions, we have to think about protecting our environment as a priority, mainly because our social and economic systems are dependent on them. Here's one of my favorite examples of sustainability. It's called the funnel model, and I'll show you why in just a second. So if we ask the question, why is sustainability important? One of the things that we can start to talk about is how we are causing, through our human activity, resources to decrease over time. So that's what this line represents here, resources decreasing over time. And at the same time, our social needs are increasing, both because our population is getting bigger and also because our social systems are getting more intensive. So we're doing a better job of feeding people, of providing good high quality housing, of protecting people from diseases and medical conditions. But all of that means that we have an increased impact on our environmental and other systems. So the problem is that puts us on an unsustainable path. We are on a path toward outstripping our resources. Our societal needs are going to eventually outstrip our resources. And what sustainability tries to do is create a pathway that finds innovations that restore our natural resources and decrease the impact of our social needs. And by doing that, we create this funnel shape over time so that the distance between our social needs is increasing over time. So we're having a smaller impact on our environmental resources. All right, so this is another model of sustainability that comes from 2009. And this is one that is probably my least favorite. And the reason I like it less than the others is because it's missing something vitally important. So this is called the planetary boundaries, and it's a way of conceptualizing the major impacts that we have on our global environmental systems. This green area in the middle is the safe zone that we can use to, in which if we are having an impact on the environment within this green zone, we're still okay. And so, for example, if you look at ocean acidification, we are still in the green zones there. If we're looking at global freshwater use, we're still in the green zone. Changes in land use still in the green zone. And then we have these areas like the nitrogen cycle where we're way, way out of the green zone, and climate change, we're outside of the green zone. So this demonstrates that there are these limits to the capacity of our global environmental systems to support human activities, and that some of our activities are transgressing those boundaries. This for me is a problematic look at sustainability because it is missing the human and social and economic needs that are important. So this only takes into account the way that our activities are impacting the environment. It doesn't take into account social and economic needs. So my least favorite of the ones that we'll see. But recently, in 2012, a couple of researchers found a way to adjust that. So building off of the planetary boundaries, they added a social foundation and created what's called the donut economics, or more appropriately, a safe and just operating space for humanity. So this green zone here is the safe, just space for humanity. And what this demonstrates is that within that donut are these areas of social needs where we don't want to have a shortfall. We want to protect people's access to food and water and energy, support networks, housing, gender equality, social equality, giving people a political voice, working towards peace and justice. We don't want to fall short on those areas. And at the same time, we want to be able to address all of those areas positively without crossing an ecological ceiling that leads to climate change, ocean acidification, pollution, et cetera. So this blends that planetary boundaries model with insights about our social and economic needs as well. So where does this, where are we as a global society when it comes to achieving this ideal of a safe and just space for humanity? Well, this slide shows us. These scientists took some time and put together an assessment of major countries across the world in terms of the biophysical boundaries they transgressed. So that's those planetary boundaries, and then the social thresholds that they achieved. So that's those social and economic thresholds. And so up in the top left corner here is the donut economics model, meeting the needs of all within the means of the planet. And you can see that a lot of countries are doing really, really well in meeting social needs. So for example, in the top right corner, the Netherlands, Germany, Japan, the US, all of us doing a good job of meeting social needs, but at the same time, we're transgressing several of the planetary boundaries. So the goal is to move countries that are already meeting the social needs of their populations toward the decreased number of planetary boundaries that they've transgressed, and then also to move those countries that are still within their biophysical boundaries, within their planetary boundaries, move them up towards the social thresholds that they need to maintain. So we're trying to move all of these countries toward the top left corner of this graph, and that is a really, really hard thing to do.